Thank you for staying with us on the show. Again, the first conversation on the program this morning is the huge cost of governance in our democratic system, where there's a sharp contrast between the quality of life of the government and those that they are governing. Of course, we all know in Nigeria, the perks that those that we elect and of course appoint as government officials enjoy. And then the people are beginning to ask questions if indeed this government, the current government, is indeed serious about cutting the cost of governance in Nigeria to reflect the economic realities of our time. We have joining us on the program this morning a very senior colleague in the industry, Mr. Bola Bolawale. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here.
All right, so I do agree that democracy is quite expensive, and yet the cost of governance in Nigeria is quite alarming. So looking at the huge cost of governance in Nigeria, is this why people are always desperate to get elected or appointed into government in Nigeria?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's one of the reasons. The perks and the perquisites of office, what people get when they are in office, is humongous. The salaries, the allowances, the facilities at their disposal, and the possibility of helping yourself to the funds that belong to all of us. All these ones are some of the reasons why people struggle tooth and nail to get into office. It has been said that the most thriving industry in Nigeria today is politics. After politics, maybe crime. So those are the two industries that people are really making a lot of money from. If you are in politics, you earn a lot of money. A councillor earns more than a professor, 3 times more than a professor. A professor of 20-something, 30-something years don't earn as much as the councillor that we just appointed, just elected yesterday, who may not even have a school certificate. So you find out that that is one of the reasons why people will do just anything to get into political office. That's why you have godfatherism. That's why you have people who are ready to become God's son or God's daughter and would give anything, will accept anything, demean themselves, and go to any length. Cultism, ritual, killings, and a lot of terrible things. They agree, mortgage their conscience, mortgage the interest of people they want to serve, yes, and they just to get into office to make themselves positioned to leverage the advantages of having access to public funds for their own personal benefit.
All right. So from your explanation and what Ajibola said during the opening, that we do know that currently in Nigeria the cost of governance can be said to be high, but why has it become a concern as we speak? Is government in tandem with the current realities on ground as to whether or not where we are at the moment, especially as a nation, we should still continue to maintain this high cost of governance?
We shouldn't. For those of us who are at the receiving end of it, we think that we have had enough of these costs of governance that is killing us, and we are not having value for money. It's one thing that we're spending so much on our political office holders. It's another thing that we are not having value for money. If you buy something and it's very expensive, and you enjoy it, you have quality, you have value for money, you can have some satisfaction, yes. But if you spend so much and then you get so little, or you get virtually nothing, you can't see what you have gotten, then it becomes a double loss, a lose-lose situation. We are spending so much on those who are in government, we are not getting value for it. So we begin to ask questions, why are we spending so much on those who are in government when they are not delivering good governance? So it becomes a very critical situation, and that's why people are now complaining. Those who are in government will not agree with what we are saying. Many of them will tell us, we say that no, they are doing their best. They will not agree that they are not performing, and they will also not agree that the cost of governance is huge, is high. And of course, sometimes when they argue it with you, they will tell you, they will give you reasons. For instance, all these political office holders that we talk about, that they are earning so much, they will tell you that yes, they may be earning so much on the surface, but this money they spend on the electorates, on their people. Somebody who is having a naming ceremony will come to the councillor, will come to the local government chairman. Somebody whose wife or is delivering will come. Somebody who is in the hospital will come. My child is going to resume his school, they will come. Or somebody is turning the back of his father or his mother, he will come. So, and they have to give money to all these people. So at the end of the day, the amount of money they spend in their constituencies is huge. So when you look at their salaries on the surface, you think that this amount is humongous. But when they also talk to you about the responsibilities that they carry, you will also see that the problem also is also from the side of the populace. So because what we demand from them, the responsibilities we put on them is huge. So you discover that when we are talking about corruption, some people are stealing money, we also have to talk about the people who are taking this money from them. It's like when you are talking about vote buying. If somebody is not ready to sell vote, there will be nobody who will buy. People are ready to sell vote. So you discover that corruption is pervasive, is everywhere. Many of the people who are complaining that there's corruption is because they are not the ones there doing the corruption. And that's why when people who are so vociferous about good governance get to government, you discover that they are unable to make a difference. Because the real reason why they were complaining was not because they wanted good governance, but because they were not the ones there performing the bad governance. So you discover that this issue of cost of governance is not a one-way traffic. It's not something you can just discuss one way without looking at the other side. But all the same, it does not augur well for the health of our democracy. We have to do something to make sure that the cost of governance is drastically reduced. And we must also understand the genesis of the huge cost of governance that we have today. It started from the military. This is where the military has brought us. Okay. I don't know whether you want to explain that.
Maybe just a bit. Okay, because again, there's always that thing that if you do not trace where you went wrong, you might not be able to find answers, or you might not be able to find solutions to your problems. And so, in as much as you briefly just ask, take us through how the military actually brought us here. At the moment, we're practicing democracy, and so if there was anything that the military brought on us, isn't it high time that we left it and then now chart a path forward, the path that we want to move, or to the path that we want to tow as a democratic setting? So if the democracy, helped us brought us here, isn't it high time we also find a way to exit that space?
Yeah, it's not easy to exit that space.
Can we at least
because
try?
Those who are benefiting from it will not want you to exit it. I was at a meeting with the governor, and we were talking about true federalism. And the governor said, we should draft a powerful speech on true federalism. We drafted this speech. And he said, Bibi, that's a good one. That's why I asked you to draft it, because you know how to do these things. We drafted and we sent this speech out. But later he now said, but of course we are not going to don't believe in what we have said. I said, why?
So why did you ask me?
Why are we talking about true federalism when we don't believe in it? You now call these political aides. He said, if there is true federalism and we have a Western region that we used to have it, can you become a federal advisor? Can you become a chief of staff? Can you become, is there me that I'm sitting there, can I become governor? He said because of that, nobody will want to go back to that era. But even though they know that it's the right thing to do, but because of their own personal interest, self-interest, they don't want it. Now, how did we get here? We got here because in the First Republic, we started after independence with 3 regions. Eastern region, Western region, Northern region. In 1963, out of political vendetta, they created the Midwest out of the Western region, just to whittle down the influence and the power of Bola Bolawale and the Western region. They refused to create a state out of the Eastern region, even though the South people, the Ogoja people, they have been agitating for a state. They didn't create a state out of the Eastern region. They kept it like that. They didn't create a state out of the Northern region that was a behemoth, that was larger than the 2 other regions put together, even though the middle belt people, the Taka and people had been arguing, agitating, and they have been even rioting for their own state. They didn't create a state. So we had in 1963 4 regions. But when the war started, as the war was about to start, the Biafran War, the Civil War was about to, Gowon created 12 states. That was when it started. So with 12 states, you must have 12 governors, you must have commissioners, you must have special advisors, you must have, the bureaucracy began to expand. And from 12 states today, we have 37 states and the Federal Capital Territory. So you must have 37 governors, 37 deputy governors, 37 SSGs, chief of staff. Then every one of them will have special advisors, special commissioners, and everything like that. And the presidency now, we now have the presidency, we now have a lot of other things. So that is the bureaucracy had been expanded so much so that we must service this bureaucracy. And the military started, the military brought us there. Then when the military was also leaving in 1999, they also now created the presidential system of government.
Which is expensive.
Which is also expensive. Which is also humongous, so you now have, with the president now, you now have ministers, special advisors, then we have 2 houses of assembly. You have the Senate, you have the and you ask yourself, what is one doing that is different from what the other one is doing? It's just duplication of functions and resources. Now the presidential system is very expensive. And apart from that, it is not as effective as the parliamentary system of government. The parliamentary system, the prime minister is in parliament. You can ask questions. But here now you can invite the governor to the state office. Which speaker? Which senior president? Which speaker of the house will invite the president? We have seen it happen in the past, and the president refused to go, and nothing will happen. But in the parliamentary system, we will be there in government. They will ask questions. Now people say, if government is not performing in democracy, you change it. It is not easy to change in the presidential system. Whereas in the parliamentary system, once you vote on the floor of the house, and you can vote out, that is all. But now it is difficult. So it is these 2 things, the creation of states and then the movement from parliamentary to presidential system that has actually ballooned the cost of government.
And yet we still have more people clamoring for more states.
People are still clamoring for more states because it is like if you can't beat them, you join them. Because you have seen that this is how it functions now. A lot of the people who don't even like creation of states say, what can we do? Now, people in my area from those states, they call me, they say, we are asking for a state. I say, what are we asking? What are we going to do with a state? They say, if you can't beat them, let us join them. Let us also ask for our own state. I say, okay, I drafted it and now we are asking for our own state. Even though I don't believe
you have the viability of the state.
Yes, exactly.
How do we marry the situation that we have at hand together? The people are putting pressure on the appointed and elected government officials, and the politicians as well are also taking advantage of the people because of their economic conditions. So how do we find the balance between the two in such a way that we'll be able to cause the cut of governance, and of course the people will feel the impact of government the way they should?
We need a visionary leader. You see, the fish rots from the head. And in every society, every country that people have made a difference, leadership. You will find a leader. We talk about Singapore, a leader emerged. We talk of Malaysia, a leader emerged. We talk of South Korea, a leader emerged. Even when we're talking about the United States, their forefathers that emerged and that set the template that they are still following today. We need a leader that will emerge and that will say enough, that we cannot continue like this. And that was why I was happy when President Bola Tinubu emerged, because I knew that he was a leader that had that kind of aura and that kind of foresight. But the question is whether he will want to do it. Number two, whether they will allow him to do it.
Right.
Because the problem of Nigeria is not just about the leader wanting to do the right thing, but whether the environment, the system will allow. I have been with people in power, governors who want to do one thing, and the environment will not allow them to do it. Their hands will be tied. Outside there, we think that they are powerful, the president is powerful, the governor is powerful, but when you look close to them, you see that they are not that powerful. There are a lot of factors, estimated factors, circumstantial factors that won't allow them to do one thing or the other.
Look at the case of the Supreme Court on local government autonomy.
We're still dilly-dallying over that.
Yes, you see, because now, number one, I don't even believe, as somebody who believes in true federalism, I don't believe that it is the federal government should be the one legislating on local governments. I believe that we don't need all these 774 local governments that have been set out in the Constitution. That's one of the problems we have with the Constitution. It's a Constitution that says it is federal, but in practice it is not federal. Because it is the states that should decide their role of local government. Because how can you sit in Abuja and decide for people in Kaduna, in Sokoto, in Cross River and things like that? The kind of administrative system that we want in different local governments will be different. And the number of local governments that will be different. That's why we have problems now. We find that a situation where Lagos had remained stagnant on how many or 20 local governments, whereas Kano has been split into how many states, and they now have about 5-6 more times local government than Lagos. And it is this local governments that are the basis for sharing money from the allocation. So you find that some people are being marginalized, even though they are not complaining, they are not the one crying marginalization. The Southwest, the Yoruba people have been more marginalized than even the Igbos, the Southeast, that are crying marginalization. When you look at some of the some of these things, so I think that we should totally abrogate this idea of the federal government legislating on local governments. Let us just have the two federating units, the federal government and the states at the state levels. Let the states now decide what happens at the local government level. Right.
Earlier you mentioned that peradventure, what we're practicing at the moment, if we were even getting value for money, perhaps the manner of complaints will be reduced. But at the moment, how then can government reduce the cost of governance without necessarily affecting productivity? Because productivity remains key here. That is the essence of having people at the helms of affairs. So if you cannot be productive, even with a bloated cost of governance, and then we're agitating for a reduction, how then do we ensure that even peradventure, if there was a reduction, productivity will still remain key?
Thank you very much. You see, even if government wants to reduce the cost of governance, the people are not allowing. There was a Steve Orosanye report. Have we been able to implement it?
We've been going back and forth on
every effort to implement it have stalled. All the efforts, they have stalled. Because people will say, people will go and lobby. You want to merge EFCC with ICPC. People will say, why? You want to merge road safety with people. So it has become extremely difficult. If we can implement that report wholesale, we will have sufficient, at least to a large extent, reduce the cost of governance. So, but vested interest will not allow it. And because those who have in position are politicians, and politicians want to kowtow to the feelings of stakeholders that are very important. to their electoral sources. Otherwise, when election comes, they will suffer for it if they take decisions that hurt the feelings of some of these very powerful people. If they step on toes, the reverberation will come to them on election day, and they don't want that. So it's just now they will just throw their hands up in the air and say, well, if the people want to do the right thing, people will not allow us to do the right thing. Well, let us all be there. We will all suffer it together. That is part of the problems we have. Now, how do you ensure productivity in a situation where the bureaucracy is bloated? In a situation where square pegs are not put in square holes. In a situation where most of the decisions are patronage, political patronage, there can be no productivity. How can there be productivity in a system that does not reward merit? That there is no consequence for bad behavior. Those are the things that we have in this country. There is no consequence for bad behavior. The other time, a government said we should help you look at certain things. We look at those things. But believe you me, the process of disciplining somebody in the civil service is rigorous. You can't just say this person has committed an offense, so you sack him. No. It is even worse at the federal level. At the federal level, because I did some things for them at the federal level, and I complained to the department secretary that brought me in to say, he said, he can't be sacked. He said, this is a director, this is an assistant director. He said, the process of sack, he said, you will be on it for 5 years, you won't get anywhere. So what do we do? He said, nothing. And this person is doing what he said, there's something that can be done. So you have that process there, that it's difficult for you to sanction people who have misbehaved. And we have in system, we have in place a system that does not reward merit. We have federal character, we have quota system, and all these are against merit, and they are there, and you can't remove them. And for as long as you cannot remove them, you have incompetent people who are coming to the system, and who are even coming not just to the system, who are coming to those people who are more competent than themselves, and then we are polluting the system, we are poisoning the system, and how can we expect the system to function well?
Okay, in cutting the cost of governance, like Abimbola pointed out, can we start from something as little as buying vehicles? Look at members of the National Assembly and even the executive arm of government. We have Innocent, we have NERD, we have local manufacturers of vehicles in Nigeria, and government is still mouthing cutting cost of governance, yet they are not patronizing these local manufacturers.
Yeah, see, they won't patronize them because it's like you want to go to the market to buy a product. You go to the supermarket, you ask, what is the difference between this milk and that milk? They will tell you this one is the brand. It's because of the name. This one is, and eventually you end up even picking the one that is more expensive because of the brand. Because of the name. You think that it is, I don't want to mention name so that we won't be advertising there. But you think that this one is better. It's the same thing with people. So they believe that some of these, you want to buy vehicles now, you know the vehicle you will buy now, you will go and buy some. You say this one. Okay, so that is the problem we have. We have this mentality of thinking that brands are very important, and therefore you want to go for the best brand. That's one. Number two, because it is not your own personal money you are spending, it is government money. If it is your own personal money, you'll be thinking about cost. But because it's government money, it's free money. So you want to get the best. So that's why they are not even patronizing. And then number three, we don't have laws compelling us. We even have the laws, we are not implementing them. Local content. Because there was a time I read that the local content was supposed to be 70% in whatever we do. But do we implement local content in what we do? Do we insist that, okay, everything that we want to do, we should implement this law so that we can help local industries to grow? The only example I have seen recently, and which everybody is, a lot of people are complaining about, is this 50% tariff on imported imported fuel. Okay, the excuse of government is to help protect local refineries. Fine, but the disadvantage of it is that people will not have to pay more for and all other products. So, but if we look at it critically, there is no how you can you can encourage local industries, and you can develop industrially if you don't take such decisions. There was this story that I read of this Indian boy in an exam situation. The pencil he was using kept breaking. He kept sharpening it, kept breaking, he kept sharpening it, kept breaking, and it was retarding his progress. And then the examiner now came and gave me another pencil. He looked at the pencil and he put the pencil down and kept using the one that was breaking.
Why?
And then he said that one that was breaking was manufactured in India.
Imagine.
Oh my God.
So that if he an Indian will not use the pencil, so who will use it? So if he does not suffer for it, who will suffer for it?
Yeah.
So he preferred to use it and even maybe fail the exam or not pass as much as he done. So he didn't use the imported pencil. He used his own, even though it was breaking.
Are the politicians ready to suffer for the people?
That is, we do ourselves. Are we ready to do that kind of thing? And you know that there was a time when we were referring to products from Hong Kong as inferior, products from China as inferior, products from India as inferior.
They are the most.
But from those inferior products, they have perfected. So unless we are able to have that level of patriotism that we want to say this is our own, and we want to encourage our own, we want to build up our own, we will keep going after imported products. We will keep having taste for imported items, and by so doing we are helping to develop the economies of other people while we are changing our own economy. So there is the need for us to actually have an understanding, and government has a role to play in this. Government should take the lead. Okay, now we are saying that we should patronize the vehicles that our governments are using. Is it innocent? So even those from the state where those who are his fellow people, are they patronizing him? So that is the problem. So unless we change this colonial mentality of living what belongs to us and then embracing what belongs to others, we keep developing the economies of our people, producing jobs for them in other countries, while we are producing unemployment here in our own system, until we understand the linkages between these things, and that eventually we are the ones solving for it. That is why our youths are solving. That is why they are jacked all over the place, because there are no jobs here. The jobs that should be here, we have taken them abroad, because that is where we are spending our money, and that is where we are helping to develop our economy. Yes.
You've rightly put here, patriotism is one of the things that we have to put forward here. But patriotism also is not leaving anyone behind. Both the government and the led need to be patriotic here. And so if we all need to be patriotic to ensure that we put Nigeria first, are we also going to get to that space where citizens can begin to hold the government more accountable for wasteful spending or for cutting the cost of governance, if the people themselves are even the clogs in the wheel of government wanting to also do some of these things that we've spoken about this morning?
Yeah, you see, that is one of the reasons why I always disagree with the Nigerian Labour Congress, the academic staff of universities, and all such people. This usually you don't find a situation where the mass of the people will come up and begin to agitate for anything. When you find the mass of the people coming up to agitate, it has become a protest, it has become a riot, it has become a very different thing entirely. It is the elites, the civil society groups, the people who understand the issues. Most of the issues we are discussing here, 80% of people out there, they don't understand it. They don't have the ideas that we have. They don't know why things are the way they are. All they know is that this thing impacts me negatively. This is what I am feeling. Why you are feeling like that, how to trace the problem, they don't understand it. But we that we understand it, we should lead the attack on the source of these problems. But we are not doing that. You find that most of the time when they go on strike, it is on salaries. When labor goes on strike, it is on salaries. When academic staff are going on strike again, it is on salaries and allowance, this and that. But the key issues of how to reposition the country the problems in the economy, what government will be doing, how to get. They are not addressing these issues. They don't address the issues that can benefit all of us. They are very narrow-minded and very parochial in the things that in the issues that but the issues that will help all of us are issues that cut across. When we're talking about how can government cut down the cost of governance, they are not interested in that. They don't address those issues. If those are the issues why they go on strike, it will be okay. If they can go on strike and say, government has just bought Lexus for so and so because of that, we are going on strike. If they go on strike, it will be okay, but they will not.
But there was an experience that I had before the last local government election in Lagos State, Alimosho to be precise. The local government chairman constructed a PHC. And the road to that PhD was horrible. He wanted to come and commission, and the people said no. They said there was nothing he did not try. They refused.
So, in line with what Jibola said, are we getting to that point where the electorate are bold enough to start demanding more from the elected officials?
The electorate will be that bold when we have people who are able to point them in the right direction. That's why the problems we have in Nigeria today is the collapse of the middle class. See, the middle class has virtually collapsed. In every society is a middle class that they are educated, they are informed, and then they are organized, and then they can show the light to the people, and they can lead the people. In that alignment we are talking about, there must have been some people. Yes, it cannot be the ordinary alata people, organizers. No, they can't organize themselves. There is the need for organization. That was why in the Communist Manifesto, what Kalman said is that workers of all unite, organize. There is the need for organization. Until you find people who can organize the people, it will be difficult for disparate groups to come together and organize themselves. They need organization. And that's why we need all these interest groups to be able to come together and organize these people. If the people are organized, they are already the objective conditions, as we call it, as the Marxists call it, the objective conditions, the conditions of poverty, that we now say that poverty has been weaponized, all the objective conditions are there. But the subjective condition, which is people who will now organize them and tell them what to do and how to do to do it, is lacking. That is the problem we have in Nigeria. It's not as if the people out there do not know that they are sovereign. It is not as if they do not know that the government is not doing the right thing. But what do they do? If you go out there, we tell them, well, we know now, but what can we do? We are powerless. We can't do anything. If we go out now, they will shoot us, they will kill us. And so what can we do? So it is the problem of the elite. But unfortunately in Nigeria today, the elite themselves, they are struggling with poverty. Where a university professor is earning 420,000 per month after putting in 20-something, 30-something years, how can he? Is that enough for him to even take care of his family? When he's still thinking about the cost of a bag of rice and things like that, to go out there and organize becomes a problem. So that is the problem we have now. So poverty, like they said, has been weaponized in such a way that everybody is busy struggling to survive. And in a process that like that, it is when you sit down that you can become constructive, that you can begin to think of ideas, you can begin to think of doing this or doing that. Now, in those days, we used to have a lot of money. When I was a student union activist and when I left and started working, we were organizing NAMs, we were funding them, and we were having quality people coming up as non-president. But today, what happened? It's the politicians that's funding them. I don't have money and to go contest elections. There are millions. So that is the problem.
As we wrap up this conversation this morning, what are the immediate steps if truly government needs to address issues around cutting the cost of governance?
They should restructure the country. The country needs restructuring. You see, the structure that we have is too bogus and too expensive to run. So if they continue with this structure, the cost of governance will continue to be on the high side. Governors are not reducing, or government is generally, whether at the federal level or state level, or the 3 tiers of government, they are not reducing the number of people they are bringing in on board. The aids, they are increasing rather because more people are making more demands on them. So the bureaucracy is getting bloated over and over again. So unless they restructure this country, it will be difficult for them to cut the cost of governance. If they still retain the 36-state structure with FCT, if they still retain the presidential system of government, it will be difficult for them. If we still have all these bureaucracies, we still have all the parastatals, if they start listing all the parastatals that the federal government is funding, you'll be shocked. Many of them have never heard of their name before, and they are there. They are collecting allocation every year. It is only when they go to the national and say, is there what are they doing? What are they doing?
That's how to compensate their boys who supported them during the election.
So for as long as we are doing
for the boys.
Yeah, for as long as we are doing that, we are not helping the country because the country cannot develop that way. And we say we are moving towards a $1 trillion economy. This is not how to get there. It will just be a pipe dream. Just like we have water for all, year 2020. Do we get water for all? Housing for all, so and so. Food for all, so and so. So this $1 trillion economy will still be a pipe dream if we do not restructure, if we do not, the bureaucracy must be made very slim and very lean, very effective. So that is what we have to do. We have to increase our source of income and we have to reduce our cost of expenditure. These are just basic O-level economics that all of us learned in the
maybe they are not as simple as we say all the same, but then we'd have to leave this conversation here this morning. Sometimes we also do hope that those whom we're actually speaking to sometimes also have listening ears and can pick one or two from such conversations. Thank you so much, Bola Bolawale, for finding time to be with us on the program today.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
We'll take a quick break. The conversation returns shortly.